So we will learn what is actually zeroth law. Okay, so from while understanding first law of thermodynamics, we used the adjective, that is adiabatic, where we saw that this adjective, when you are imposing on a wall, there was only allowing work transfer, okay, no heat transfer. That adjective led to the understanding of first law. Okay, and for now we will impose non-adiabatic wall, that means non-adiabatic adjective. That means this adjective means that one that permits or allows heat transfer, right? That means Q as well as W will be possible across the system. So that can be termed as diathermic wall. This adjective will be important for defining zeroth law, for understanding the zeroth law of thermodynamics. Like the behavior of the two systems, that will be separated by a diathermic wall, and that will lead us to the zeroth law of thermodynamics. Now we will understand the first part of zeroth law. As we know, the zeroth law can be well understood by the adjective diathermic. Okay, so in this setup, what we will do, we will take two systems, system A and system B, and that will be separated by a diathermic wall. That means it will not only allow work transfer but also allow heat transfer. Okay, now we know that the state of that system A can be represented in the state space by a point. That point represents that the system is in thermodynamic equilibrium. Okay, now we're gonna fix the state of system A. Now on the other hand, we have system B, where we have allowed to interact with system A via a diathermic wall. Okay, now our interest will be, by fixing the state of A, we will look for the states of B, a state of B in a thermodynamic state space where we can get the Q to be 0, the state for which there will not be any heat interaction between A and B. If we find it, then that can be represented by a point B1. Now if such state exists, then that comes to the first part of zeroth law. This pair of state A1 and B1, if it exists, they are called the isothermal states. And if from the definition, if you see this state A and state B, that we can appreciate that will actually be in thermal equilibrium. So as you can see from a very fundamental point of view, that you fix the state of system A and you are finding for the state of B for which there will not be heat transfer. Once you find that point, that state space, that unique state in the state space for which there is no heat transfer, that corresponding point, like A1 and B1, is the isothermal states, and the states of A and B can be told that they are in thermal equilibrium. Now we would like to extend this further condition of the part of zeroth law, that as we are fixing the state of system A and we are allowing the heat transfer to go across the diathermic wall, now we will look for some other states of B such that the Q will be 0. Okay, so accordingly, as we are fixing A, we will get something like B2, B3, B4, like various states we will get like that. Okay, now if you join these lines, it will be the locus that will be containing all the points or all the states of B for which it is having an interaction with system A where there will be no heat transfer. Okay, so you can really say that this A1, which is the state of system A, is actually in thermal equilibrium with all these points which is there in this locus. Okay, now we are interested to fix the state of system B and try to see the different states of A for which there will not be any heat transfer. Okay, now as we have fixed the B and A and B is separated by a diathermic wall, so now we will find out the different states of A. Suppose if such a state exists like A2, similar way A3, similar way A4, maybe A5. Now you join this line. Okay, so now you can really say that these are the states which are in thermal equilibrium with the state of B. That means any state in this locus is isothermal. Okay, that's what the definition we have stated before. Now, as we have stated, A1 and B1 are isothermal. Similarly, B1 and A3 are isothermal. Okay, but we were interested to know what about A1 and A3. They will also be isothermal. That actually gives us to the second part of zeroth law, that is what we call as transitive property. As we appreciated, initially we have two states. Okay, initially we have A1. If we fix A1 and we are looking for the state of B for which there will be no heat transfer, then we found out that state, that pair of state, what we call isothermal state. Similarly, what we did, we fixed the state of system B, and we tried to explore the different states of A, and we found out that with this point B1, there are this all the points which are there in the locus A1, A2, A3, and are actually isothermal with each other. They are in thermal equilibrium. Okay, now we appreciate that B1 and B3 are also isothermal. Now we were interested to know what about A1 and A3, A1 and A3, that is within this locus. Okay, so that gives us from a transitive property that it is also a isothermal. Okay, they are also isothermal. As we are discussing now the zeroth law, the second part of it, but we also appreciate the first part of zeroth law, which showed the existence of isothermal state, and the second part actually showed us the transitive property. Now we will go into little more details. While analyzing the zeroth law, we fix the state of system A and we look for the system B where there will be a state for which Q will be 0. Okay, when system A and system B is interacting via a diathermic wall, that means it can allow heat as well as work. Okay, so these are maybe the pair of two states for which from the first part we saw that was like an isothermal state. The pair of two states are the isothermal states. Now accordingly we get the locus, maybe You get A1, A2, A3 in this locus. Similarly in the state space of B, B1, B2 and B3, in that way it gonna go. Okay, now let us appreciate that A1 and B1, when interacted via a diathermic wall, they are the pair of isothermal states because the heat transfer is zero across the diathermic wall. Okay, on the similar hand, we also found out, we fixed the B and we found out the locus, and every point in that locus that will also be in thermal equilibrium with the point B in this case. Okay, now we also answered that if B1 is thermal equilibrium with A1 and B1 is thermal equilibrium with A3, what about A1 and A3? That gave us the answer by using transitive property, and we say A1 and A3 are also in thermal equilibrium. They are also isothermal states. Okay, now if we try to go beyond that, we will understand that this isotherm is actually, means you can typically see that A1, A2, A3, whatever points are there, by following the second part of zeroth law, they are actually the they are actually the same isotherm, right? They are isothermal states. They are actually the pair of isothermal state. So this is the locus where you will get the points representing the same isothermal state. Similarly, for system B, if you see that this locus will also indicate similarly that B1 and B2 are the isothermal states and they are all in thermal equilibrium. So in that way, this also locus will also indicate in a similar fashion as A. Now these two, as you know, that this locus, whatever points in this locus, will also be thermal equilibrium, will also be in thermal equilibrium with all the points in this locus. So this is actually what we call as corresponding isotherms. But you can typically see that there is simply need to be something common between them, for which you can typically understand, like when A1 is interacting with B1 via diathermic wall, it is in isothermal state. Similarly, A3 with B1, it is in isothermal state, and then we can say A1 and A3 are also the pair of isothermal states. So typically these two isotherms are the corresponding isotherms. Now we have to really appreciate by asking a question, that is there anything that is common, and if there is something, then what is that? That is our big question. Now, as I was talking, that there has to be something common between the two states. Okay, suppose this is for A, this is for B, this is the isotherm here, this is the isotherm here. Okay, now we can appreciate that this pair of isotherms, these are the corresponding isotherms. Now this is the common thing that I have framed it. Similarly, if you try to do like fixing the system A and system B and try to find out at some different conditions, then you will get the pair of isotherms for which these two isotherms will be in thermal equilibrium. Similarly, for other, if you typically see, then this is the corresponding isotherms. So what I am trying to make is that these are the corresponding isotherms, these are the corresponding isotherms, and these are the corresponding isotherms. So that is generally the common thing between them. And now you can identify that this isotherm and this isotherm are the corresponding isotherms. They are in thermal equilibrium, right? But this yellow one and this green one, they are not the corresponding isotherm, or yellow one or the green one or the red one is not the corresponding isotherm. They are not in thermal equilibrium. The whole idea what I am trying to say is that the common thing between system A and system B that guides us to the second part of zeroth law, that is the transitive property, is the corresponding isotherm. It's more like we gave the answer first and then we asked the question, but we have to be very sure that what is the common thing, that is the corresponding isotherm. Just to have a better idea of it, as you know that as I told you, like these two yellow lines in two different state space of system A and system B respectively, they are the corresponding isotherms. Similarly, the two green lines are the corresponding isotherms, two red lines are the corresponding isotherms. Now the question is that if you have a point, suppose you think of any point A star, okay, of system A and B star of system B, okay. Now you are interested to find out that whether they are isothermal or not. So how will you do that? First you will do that the state A will have some XA, YA. Similarly, state B will have some XB, YB. Okay. Now when you plot that in that line, in that state's thermodynamic state space of A, suppose you find that A star is lying in that line, in the red line, okay, that is A star, suppose. Similarly, for B star, it is lying in the line, green line, okay. Now whether they are isothermal or not, that will be the question. Now as we have already stated, as they are in different lines, right, they are not the corresponding isotherm, so the answer will be no. But if this B star lies in the red line, okay, then we can say then this is A star and B star are isothermal. Now the question is, how can we distinguish different isotherms? Here we have introduced by using like different colors. We can use it with dash line, we can use it by some different nature of line, okay, or maybe a solid line, so that you can identify, or with different colors so that you can identify them. Now the question is that how will you label them? That you have, suppose yellow and yellow are the corresponding isotherms, green and green are the isotherms, corresponding isotherms, red and red are the corresponding isotherms. Now the challenge is that how will you label them? I think most of the time more proper will be to give the label by using some number, okay, suppose 1, 2, 3, whatever the number is, that will actually label the isotherm so that we can identify uniquely any corresponding isotherm, okay. Now another thing is that whatever will be the label of isotherm, that is what we actually called the temperature. So if any system is having a particular isotherm and another system which is having another isotherm, and they are not the corresponding isotherm, and there will be a heat transfer, okay, due to the difference in the isotherms, as they are not the pairs which are actually in thermal equilibrium. But another thing you have to really remember in mind, that zeroth law never told about the hierarchy, that about the temperature, which is high temperature, which is low temperature. It haven't really showed us. That we have to remember.